You know, it's the pigment that gives us our unique coloring. And there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely. It's way more than just skin deep.
So we've got these two really cool articles here. One from Medical News Today and the other from the Cleveland Clinic that we're going to use for this deep dive. We're going to uncover what melanin is, what it does, and why it should matter to you.
It's a molecule that's often misunderstood, but it really is crucial for our health and well-being.
Okay, so let's break it down. What exactly is melanin?
Well, it's like a complex polymer. It comes from this amino acid called tyrosine. And basically, it's responsible for all the pigmentation that we see, in our skin, hair, and even our eyes.
So it's like the artist's palette for our bodies.
Exactly. And there are actually different types of melanin, each with its own special role. There's eumelanin, which comes in black and brown forms, and that's what gives us those darker shades.
So that's why some people have darker skin or brown eyes.
Yeah, precisely. And then you got pheomelanin, which is responsible for those reddish hues, like in our lips and nipples. And you see a lot of it in red hair.
Interesting. So many variations.
Right. And then there's neuromelanin, which is found in our brains. Researchers think it's connected to, neuron function and things like that.
Wow, so melanin is busy all over the place. I was reading in the Medical News Today article that everybody has roughly the same number of melanocytes. Those are the cells that actually produce the melanin. But it's the amount of melanin they produce that makes us all look so different.
That's right. Our genetics, along with other factors, determine just how much melanin we produce, leading to that incredible diversity of, human coloring. Skin, hair, eye color. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so let's talk about melanin's claim to fame. Everyone knows it helps protect us from the sun's harmful rays. But how does that actually work?
Well, you can think of melanin like a tiny little shield for our cells. It absorbs those UV rays and stops them from damaging our DNA. It's like, a natural sunscreen built right into our skin.
That's pretty incredible. And the Medical News Today article mentioned that when we're out in the sun, melanin production actually increases. So that's why we tan, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like our body's way of saying, whoa, too much sun here. Let me try and protect myself. But here's the thing, and this is important. Melanin's amazing, but it's not invincible. We still need to be smart about using sunscreen and protecting ourselves.
So you're saying even people with darker skin tones who have more melanin still need to wear sunscreen?
Absolutely. It's like, having a strong shield, but you still wear armor in battle, right?
Yeah.
You want to give your skin all the help it can get.
Makes sense. Now, besides sun protection, both these articles hint that melanin has some other pretty cool skills, like it's a powerful antioxidant, right?
That's right. Melanin helps fight off these things called reactive oxygen species, or ROS.
I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking, okay, what in the world are reactive oxygen species and why are they so bad?
Well, think of them like unstable molecules that can cause damage to our cells, sort of like rust on metal. They've been linked to aging, cancer, and a bunch of other diseases.
So melanin is like a tiny warrior in our cells fighting off those damaging molecules.
That's a great way to put it. And there's all this research going on right now looking into whether melanin plays an even bigger role in our health. Like maybe it even boosts the immune system or reduces inflammation. Lots of possibilities.
Melanin is sounding more and more like a superhero. But what happens when we have too much or too little melanin? The Medical News Today article mentioned things like hyperpigmentation and hypopigmentation.
Right. Hyperpigmentation is when you've got, excess melanin. So that often shows up as darker patches of skin. Melasma is a common example of that. It's sometimes triggered by, hormonal changes.
And on the flip side, hypopigmentation is when there's not enough melanin. That can lead to conditions like vitiligo, where patches of skin lose their pigment.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's albinism, which is a rare genetic condition where there's very little to no melanin production. It affects skin, hair, and eye color.
It's wild how much melanin influences how we look. And the Cleveland Clinic article brought up something I found really interesting. They mentioned a possible connection between low melanin levels and hearing loss.
Yeah, it turns out melanin's also found in our inner ear in this area called the stria vascularis, which is super important for hearing.
Wait, so melanin's involved in our hearing too?
That's what the research is suggesting. And it seems that people with lower melanin levels might be at higher risk for hearing loss. But, we need more research to fully understand how all of that works.
Wow, melanin is more than just skin deep. This makes you wonder, could melanin's antioxidant properties be protecting those delicate structures in our ears from damage? And that contributes to good hearing.
That's a great question. It's definitely a possibility, and it's something researchers are actively looking into. If it turns out to be true, it could have a huge impact on how we approach hearing health. Imagine if we could figure out how to boost melanin levels, or even like mimic its protective effects in the ear.
That would be amazing. It seems like we're just scratching the surface of understanding melanin's role in our overall health. This is fascinating stuff. I know a lot of people are probably wondering if there's a way to, intentionally boost those melanin levels. Is there some magic pill or special diet that can give you a darker tan?
Haha, I wish it were that easy. The Medical News Today article actually debunks that whole tanning myth,
Yeah.
as a safe way to increase melanin. They really emphasize that skin cancer risk. Excessive sun exposure is dangerous.
So no tanning beds then. What about those creams or pills you see advertised? Do those actually increase melanin?
Hmm. There's really not much evidence to back up those claims. The science just isn't there yet.
So no magic potion then, but the Medical News Today article did mention eating antioxidant-rich foods to protect your skin. Does that actually increase melanin, or is there something else going on there?
It's not about increasing melanin directly. It's more about helping your body deal with those reactive oxygen species we were talking about, the ones that can damage our cells. So if you're eating lots of antioxidants, you're basically giving your skin an extra layer of protection against the sun's damage.
So it's like giving your skin a little backup to help it cope.
Exactly. It's working with your body, not trying to trick it into making more melanin.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are some good examples of those antioxidants, things people can easily work into their diets?
They mention garlic, cinnamon, and pomegranate. But honestly, pretty much any brightly colored fruits and vegetables are going to be good sources, like berries, leafy greens, tomatoes, all those good things.
So eating the rainbow, good for your skin and do your health.
You got it.
Okay, so we've talked about melanin protecting us from the sun, but the Cleveland Clinic article brought up a possible link between melanin and Parkinson's disease. How does that work? It seems like a big jump from sun protection to brain health.
It really is interesting. Researchers are still trying to, put all the pieces together. Remember, we talked about neuromelanin, the type of melanin in the brain.
Yeah, the one that helps our neurons work right.
Right. Well, it seems that people with Parkinson's disease tend to have lower levels of neuromelanin in a specific part of the brain called the substantia nigra. And that area is really important for movement control. It looks like that loss of neuromelanin is connected to the death of neurons in that area, which is a big part of what happens in Parkinson's.
So could it be that neuromelanin somehow protects those neurons? And if there's not enough, then those neurons are more likely to be damaged?
That's a leading theory, and it makes a lot of sense. If that turns out to be true, it could open up some really cool possibilities for like new treatments or even ways to prevent Parkinson's disease. Imagine if we could find a way to boost those neuromelanin levels or even mimic how it protects the brain.
That would be a huge breakthrough. This is all so incredibly complex and fascinating. I'm starting to see why researchers are so intrigued by melanin.
It's a molecule with a lot of secrets still to uncover. It's a part of so many things in our bodies, protecting us from the sun, maybe a role in brain health, and even our immune system.
Speaking of the immune system, I remember reading about melanin being involved in immune responses. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of research suggesting that melanin might actually play a role in controlling the immune system. Some studies have shown that melanin can bind to some immune cells, those molecules, and kind of influence how active they are.
So it's like melanin's helping to direct the whole immune response.
Kind of like a conductor, yeah. It's a fascinating area of research, and it's still early, but it could totally change how we understand the immune system and how we think about treating immune diseases.
Okay, so we've talked about melanin's role in sun protection, those possible links to brain health and the immune system, and even its presence in our ears. But let's take a step back and think about melanin from an evolutionary point of view. The Medical News Today article mentioned that variations in skin color come down to differences in how much melanin we make, right? And those differences are probably linked to how much UV radiation our ancestors were exposed to.
You got it. As humans moved around and settled in different parts of the world, they faced all sorts of UV levels. Those who ended up closer to the equator, where the sun's a lot stronger, they were more at risk for UV damage to their skin and DNA. So over time, natural selection kind of favored those with darker skin because those higher melanin levels gave them more protection from the sun's harmful effects.
So darker skin evolved to protect people from the harsh sun in the tropics.
Exactly. It's basically a survival thing. And in those areas farther away from the equator, where the sun's weaker, lighter skin tones developed, Lighter skin absorbs UV better, which is important for making vitamin D, which is essential for healthy bones.
So it was all about finding that balance, right? Getting
Yeah.
enough sun to make vitamin D, but also being protected from too much of it.
Exactly. And that's why we see this whole spectrum of skin tones around the world. It's pretty amazing how adaptable humans are.
This makes me think, if our genes mostly determine how much melanin we make, how come we can still tan when we're in the sun more?
That's a great point. It's a cool example of how our genes and our environment kind of work together. So yeah, our genes set that baseline melanin level, but our bodies can adjust that production, depending on what's going on around us, like how much sun we're getting.
So it's like our skin saying, uh-oh, more sun, gotta make more melanin.
Exactly. It's like this built-in intelligence system always monitoring and adapting to the environment.
So it's not just nature or our nurture, it's both, working together to determine our melanin levels.
Exactly. It shows how our genes and our surroundings shape who we are.
Wow, this has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm understanding melanin in a whole new way. It's so much more than just a pigment.
I know, right? It's so important for our biology and how we evolved.
Before we wrap up this part of our melanin deep dive, I wanted to touch on something we mentioned earlier, how melanin is found all over the body, not just in our skin. We know it's in our hair, eyes, brain, even our inner ear. But are there any other places it shows up that might surprise people?
That's really interesting. We tend to think of melanin in terms of how it colors us, but it's actually found in some pretty unexpected places. Like, did you know it's even present in our heart, lungs, and liver?
Really? I had no clue. What's it doing in there?
That's something researchers are still trying to figure out. We know melanin's a powerful antioxidant, so it makes sense that it might be protecting those organs too, helping to defend against damage from things like oxidative stress and inflammation.
So it's like a behind-the-scenes protector, wherever it is.
Exactly. It's working hard to keep our bodies running smoothly. It truly is amazing.
Okay, so we've learned about how melanin protects us from the sun, those potential connections to brain health and the immune system, its evolutionary significance, and even all the unexpected places where it's found. But before we wrap up this episode, I want to take a closer look at how melanin is tied to society and culture. Because skin color has played a big role in human history, and not always in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. The Medical News Today article talks about this, how differences in melanin, so skin color, have been used to, well, categorize people and often divide them.
It's sad that something as natural as melanin has been used for discrimination.
Yeah, it's a part of our history we can't ignore. And it's important to remember that these biases haven't completely gone away.
Definitely. We can't shy away from those conversations. But there's this movement now to kind of reclaim the narrative around melanin, celebrate it, see it as a symbol of strength, resilience, cultural identity. The Cleveland Clinic article highlights this shift, and it's really cool.
Absolutely. People are embracing diversity more and challenging those, like old standards of beauty. Melanin is being celebrated in art, music, fashion. It's a big step towards self-love and acceptance.
It's amazing to see that happening. So I want to address something that comes up a lot. Are there actual health benefits to having more melanin? Is darker skin just healthier?
That's a common misconception. Having more melanin does mean better protection from the sun's damage, but it doesn't mean someone with darker skin is overall healthier than someone with lighter skin.
Right, it's just one part of the whole health picture.
Exactly. Health is affected by so many things: genetics, lifestyle, access to healthcare, all of it. Skin color is just a small piece of that.
So more melanin doesn't equal better health in general.
Exactly. It's important to remember that everyone, no matter their skin tone, needs to look after their health.
That's a great point. Now let's go back to melanin's antioxidant power for a sec. Are there things people can do to help their body's natural defenses?
Definitely. Like we talked about, eating a diet rich in antioxidants is a good place to start.
So all those fruits and veggies.
Yeah. Berries, leafy greens, garlic, turmeric, green tea, those are all full of antioxidants to help protect your cells from damage.
And of course, sunscreen is key.
Can't forget that. No matter your melanin levels, protecting your skin from the sun is super important.
Like lending melanin a helping hand.
Exactly. Taking care of ourselves means supporting our body's own defenses.
This has been such a cool deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about melanin. It's way more complex than I ever imagined.
Me too. It's a molecule we should appreciate.
For our listeners who want to know more, both the Medical News Today and Cleveland Clinic articles have some great resources and links to more research.
So much to explore.
Keep learning.